So welcome everyone. I'm Anna Wimbo, the Director of Leadership Development at IPC, and I'm really excited for this webinar where we're going to be talking about how our experienced green team leaders can support you. We've been really lucky to have so many green teams that have formed over the last several months since we launched this Faithful Green Leaders training. And so one of the solutions that we've come up with is to have some pairing of the more experienced green team leaders with the up and coming new green teams that have just most recently been trained. And that's how we ended up hiring our second AmeriCorps member, Peter Hoogstraten, who has done an incredible job in the last 3 months since actually, it's 5 months since last September, since he joined us. And since then, we've rolled out this incredible program. And I, without further ado, will just hand it over to Peter and we'll get started.
Thanks so much, Anna, for that introduction. Welcome everybody to this Learning Lab webinar on IPC's new Green Team Mentorship Program. I want to thank all of you for being with us this evening. As Anna just said, my name is Peter Hoogstraten. I am the AmeriCorps member with IPC this year, and I am the head of the Volunteer Mentor Program. Next slide. So just to provide a little roadmap of today's session, we'll start off by talking big picture things about the program. So we'll talk about the background of the mentor program, why IPC decided to create it, and what we hope the mentor program will accomplish. Then we'll talk about the structure of the program, and we'll provide some logistics on the pairing of the mentors and the green teams. After that, we'll discuss some of the things that mentors can help green teams with, and we'll go through 2 different scenarios of 2 different methods that mentors might use to help a green team. After that, we'll hear from 2 of our mentors from our inaugural class. They'll speak briefly a little bit about why they decided to become a mentor and what they're looking forward to about the program. And then we'll close out the session and answer any questions that you might have. So I would ask that if you think of a question as we go along here, just make a note of it, maybe jot it down, and we can hopefully answer it at the end. Next slide. So why did IPC decide to create this mentorship program? Well, IPC is growing. Over the past few years, the organization has expanded rapidly, and we now reach more communities than ever before. Over 100 congregations have now signed our partner congregation pledge, and more than 119 congregational green teams have attended our Faithful Green Leader trainings, including 54 teams in 2021 alone. All of this is to say that this movement has become much larger than we expected, and we've realized that we need to devote more focus to the green teams themselves. So that's why we created this mentorship program, and that's why we decided that the mentors themselves should also be green team members. In a lot of ways, the green teams are the lifeblood of this movement. They are the experts who are putting in the work on the ground at their congregations and in their communities. And so we thought, who better to be leaders of this growing movement than the green team leaders? Now, what are some of the goals of this program? Well, we've identified 3 main areas. First and foremost, we think that mentors will increase the capacity of green teams to contribute to the movement. We know that green teams, when they're first starting out and even later, encounter a lot of challenges. And they're often left to figure out all of those challenges on their own. And so it can be really difficult to translate that passion and enthusiasm for environmental stewardship into tangible actions. But we think that having an experienced mentor available to green teams as a resource will greatly improve their ability to implement environmental projects and programs. We also think that mentors will expand our ability to reach more communities. For how big this movement has become, IPC remains a relatively small nonprofit organization. And so we don't always have the bandwidth to give every new green team the type of individual attention that some of them deserve. But that's where we hope the mentors can step in and really increase the number of congregations that we reach and ultimately build the movement even further. And last but not least, we hope that this program will help foster greater collaboration among different congregations. So often we're so focused on the deliverables of the projects and the programs that we lose sight of the community building aspect of this movement. This is a shared watershed, and it's only through combined action that we can hope to restore it. So the nature of this program is folks from different congregations and different denominations and different regions helping each other. And my hope is that everyone involved will be able to forge some new relationships along the way. Next slide. So a little bit about the logistics of the program. Like I mentioned before, this first class of mentors was selected from green teams within our network, and they were all selected due to an array of traits that they possess. So their ability to work well with others, their demonstrated leadership skills, their vast experience implementing projects and getting things done. Many of them have gone through the Faithful Green Leader training and so are very familiar with the whole process. And they've all very generously offered their time and assistance to other green teams. And the other half of the equation, who are the green teams? In this first edition of the program, green teams will be those who attended our Faithful Green Leader training classes from October of last year and February of this year. And our idea as the program goes forward in the future is to provide a mentor to every green team that goes through our Faithful Green Leader training. And teams will have that mentor available to them for the first year after they complete the training. And so our hope is that we'll have a sort of continuous loop whereby a group of green teams gets mentors for 12 months. And then after that time, they will leave the program, hopefully with a strong and sustainable team. And then a new set of green teams from the most recent Faithful Green Leader training will take their place and receive mentors. Alongside this, we'll also be continuously bringing in new mentors as well. And the hope is that this program can actually be self-sustaining in that some of the people who went through the program as part of a green team, so the mentees, can themselves become mentors once their team is graduated. So the way the program works is that one mentor is paired with between 2 to 4 green teams. When creating the mentor and green team pairings, we look at a few factors. First, we look at the skill set and knowledge base that a mentor has, and we try to pair that with a green team's known interests. So if a mentor has a lot of experience with pollinator gardens, for example, and we know that a green team is interested in implementing a pollinator garden at their congregation, then we might try to pair those two together. Another factor we look at is geographic location. In general, we try to keep mentors and green teams in relatively the same area. And that's just in case, COVID pending, a mentor ever wants to visit the green team's congregation and meet up in person. And also because a mentor might be able to better understand some of the challenges facing green teams from within their same region. And lastly, we look at denomination. We have some mentors who request to work with teams from particular denominations. And so, of course, we want to honor those requests. So the way the program works is that one mentor works with 2 to 4 green teams, and that mentor will be individually one-on-one working with those teams. The mentor is the green team's designated person to go to for advice or help of any kind. Now, what that relationship looks like is entirely up to the green team and the mentor. If a green team feels like everything is going smoothly and they're confident in implementing actions on their own, and they feel they might not reach out to their mentor that often, that's completely fine. That's to be encouraged. We ultimately want all the green teams to be self-propelling in order to be the most active and most successful that they can be. And after the 12 months are up, we want every green team to feel like they're at that stage. But if some of the teams feel like they're already at that self-propelling stage before the 12 months is up, that's terrific. The mentor is really just meant to be reactive to the green team's needs and just be available as a resource for if or when the green team would ever like assistance. And again, the green team will have that mentor available to them for about a 12-month span. We really want to give teams the most assistance during their first year after completing the Faithful Green Leader training. Next slide. So now let's hear from one of our new mentors. Susan Meyer is the Green Team Leader at Faith Lutheran Church in Cockeysville, Maryland. She's currently paired with 2 teams, one from Hartford and one from Baltimore. It's been a real pleasure working with her so far. It's been great getting to know her. She's going to talk a little bit about her own congregation, why she decided to become a mentor, and what she's looking forward to about the program. So Susan, when you're ready, take it away.
Okay,
and don't forget to unmute yourself, Susan.
Okay, can you all see that? It's not as big as it could be, huh? Okay, and now it's too big. Okay, so thank you, Peter. I was asked why I got into these kind of things in the earth. Now I'm gonna need maybe some help on getting to my next slide. How do I do that?
I think if you hit play on the top there, Susan, it might take you.
Okay, and then maybe I can go there. Okay, so my recent inspiration for why I'm working on Earth things, Mother Earth things, creation care, is my first and only grandchild, who was born on Saturday. And I got started because Greta Thunberg back in 2018 spoke to the UN and informed my generation that we had let their generation and all generations after down. We had let them down, and it was time for me to get started helping out, trying to prevent things from getting worse, at least. So in January of 2019, I went to a Baltimore350.org meeting, and then I signed up to help out with Sunrise Movement. Turns out I feel more akin to the Baltimore 350, so I stopped going to Sunrise things. But then we also created our own faith, well, our church is called Faith, so our own green team at Faith Lutheran in Cockeysville. And we did that in September of 2019. And we have the training in August of 2019. So that worked really well. And so then our congregation decided to sign the pledge in March of 2021. So I feel so supported by the Interfaith Partners for the Chesapeake organization. Bonnie's our direct contact most of the time, but everybody in the group is just so supportive, and I love it. I love the group. So some of our accomplishments, this could look like I'm bragging, which maybe I am, but we just started with the interests of the people on our committee. That's really what the key is to find out, what are the people on your committee interested in? Because if they're not interested in it, then they're not going to put the time in, and the project is not going to work. So you can look through here, and there's a lot of different topics that we worked on. But our main one last year was Plant a Tree campaign. And we ended up at the end of the year planting, I think it was, I don't remember now, 10 or 11 trees. And Bonnie came out and supported us and everything. And it was just really wonderful to have the whole congregation involved in planting the trees on the church's property. So then let's see. Then our objectives this year are to further the reduction of stormwater runoff, and we're going to hopefully have an installation, a microbiome retention installation put in either this year or next year. And so those are our objectives. And I don't think I have, oh, this is our calling. This is just my closing slide: to care for God's creation. And we're all, we're God's hands in Cockeysville. So I'll stop sharing. I got into the mentorship programs to share the enthusiasm that I have. So now I'm looking for my cursor to stop sharing and I'm not seeing it. So I'll exit there. Okay, sorry.
Thanks so much, Susan, for sharing. That was terrific. It's so refreshing to hear that you were inspired from Greta and members of the younger generation. And it's really, I think, positive and inspiring to hear that folks from my age or around my age or even younger can have that much of an influence on the generations that came before us. So thanks for sharing. And I really look forward to seeing what you are able to accomplish with your green teams. So thank you.
Thank you.
So now moving on, let's look at some of the things that mentors like Susan will be able to help green teams with. This list is by no means exhaustive, but these are just some of the things that green teams have asked for IPC as well help with in the past. So mentors can assist green teams with brainstorming project ideas. Maybe the green team is super passionate and excited about getting to work on a project, but are a little unsure about what options they might have or what might work best at their site. So they could ask their mentor for a half hour of their time just to sit down and brainstorm some ideas. The mentor can also help create or review an action plan. So maybe the green team already does know what type of project they want to do, and they've written up an action plan, but would just like a fresh set of eyes to go over the plan and make sure everything looks good. The mentor would be a great person to ask to do that. The mentor can also help the green teams secure funding. This is one of the biggest challenges that all green teams face. So where to look for funding, how to apply for it, how to write grants. So the mentor can be a big help with that. They can also help look for online resources. And then these next two, strengthening their team and communicating with their congregation, are two things that we really hope the mentors can just speak from personal experience with. So how has the mentor kept their team strong? How have they kept their team sustained? How have they communicated the work that their team is doing with their congregation? And then this last one, the mentor can help green teams connect to other congregations. This is one of the biggest roles that mentors can play, and we'll talk about it more at length in the next few slides. So next slide. So now let's look at two examples of two different ways that a mentor can help a green team. The first way is the mentor just sharing personal knowledge and experience. A green team may ask the mentor a bunch of questions that they know the answer to right off the bat, just by virtue of having gone through a similar experience in the past. So a real life example of a green team leader sharing their personal experience with other congregations comes from Joanne Eastlack, who is actually one of the mentors from our inaugural class. Joanne is with Christ the Servant Lutheran Church. They recently installed a beautiful permeable paver project in their parking lot. And then afterwards, they held a workshop where they invited members from the community and neighboring congregations to come hear more about the project. So if one of Joanne's green teams asked her about permeable pavers, she would be able to tell them all they need to know about the entire process. A second way that a mentor can help a green team is by acting as a connector between congregations. One of the many resources that mentors have available to them is a skills matrix, which I'll talk more about on the next slide. And that skills matrix lists all of the projects and programs done by congregations within IPC's network. So the mentor can use the matrix to search for a particular type of project, say a rain garden, and see all of the congregations that have installed a rain garden. So if you're a green team and you're looking for help with a particular project, you can go to your mentor and they can use the matrix to search for another congregation that has installed that same project. And then they can connect your green team to that congregation's green team. A real life example of this happening is St. Jane Francis de Chantal Catholic Church recently came to IPC asking about hosting a movie night. And IPC knew that Chevy Chase United Methodist Church had just recently hosted a very successful movie night. And so IPC connected the green team from St. Jane Francis de Chantal with the green team from Chevy Chase UMC. And so in that way, one congregation was able to hear how to do something directly from another congregation, and they were able to share best practices. So a mentor can help get you in touch with other congregations who have installed very, very similar projects or programs that you want to emulate. Next slide. So let's dive a little bit deeper into the skills matrix. As I mentioned on the previous slide, this is a list of all the projects and programs done by congregations within IPC's network. This matrix lives on our website. It's under our resources page and is available for anyone to use. So this is what the skills matrix looks like. You'll notice that these vertical bars here, each one is a different type of project. So you have things like cisterns, conservation landscaping, impervious surface removal, rain gardens. And as we go to the next slide here, when you click on one of these bars, it opens up into a dropdown where you can scroll and see all of the congregations that have implemented that specific project. So for example, you'll see on the left there that we've clicked on cistern. And now what you're seeing underneath cistern is information on all the congregations that have installed cisterns. So you'll see that on that first sort of card, that rectangular box under cistern, is information about a cistern installed by Mount Lebanon Baptist Church in Baltimore. And that card has the name of the congregation, it has the region, it has the technical partner that that congregation worked with, it has the congregation's green team leader, and then that green team leader's contact information. We've also clicked on invasive species removal over there on the right side. And same thing, we can see in this top box that this is invasive species removal done by St. Andrew by the Bay in Anne Arundel. You can see that the technical partner they worked with was the Watershed Stewards Academy, and you can see the point of contact for that congregation and how to contact them. So this is a really helpful tool that green teams can use to see what other congregations have been doing. The mentors have received a much more thorough training on the skills matrix, and so they will definitely be able to use that to connect their green teams to other green teams. Next slide. So I'm really, really proud to present our first class of mentors. They've been extremely helpful so far, and I'm really excited to see the fruits of their partnership with their green teams. We've done our best to get a diverse and well-rounded group in terms of denomination and geographic location. Of course, as the program evolves and we recruit more mentors, we'll work to diversify this list even more. And speaking of recruiting more mentors, we'll share an interest form at the end of this session for any folks here who are thinking that they might be interested in working with other green teams. Next slide. So now let's hear from another one of our new mentors. Nancy McAllister is the green team leader at St. John's Episcopal Church in Ellicott City. She's currently paired with two green teams, one from Howard and one from Baltimore. And similar to Susan, it's just been a real pleasure to work with her so far and get to know her. And she's also going to talk a little bit about her congregation, why she decided to become a mentor, and what she's looking forward to about the program. And we have a few photos from Nancy's congregation that we'll just be scrolling through in the background while she speaks. So Nancy, take it away.
Very good. Good evening, everyone. And thank you to Peter and Anna and to the whole IPC team for inviting me to join you all tonight. As Peter mentioned, I'm Nancy McAllister. I'm with St. John's Episcopal Church in Ellicott City, Maryland. And I'm thrilled to be here with you this evening to share a bit about our watershed story and why I'm so excited about becoming a Green Team mentor. Just to give you a little history, when I first joined St. John's Episcopal Church in 2005, we already had a very active team called the Stewardship of Creation Committee. So I wasn't in the picture yet, so I can't take credit for it. They had developed a creation trail on the campus. They were working on Bayscape certification with our school on site. And they added alternative energy to our utility profile, our energy profile. So it was very exciting to see that happening. And one of the things that attracted me to St. John's was the presence of that committee. We have 5 rain gardens on the church property that were installed by the READY program, now called Howard EcoWorks, in 2014. And I had a part in that. It was part of the stormwater fee, and all of that came as part of that, and it helped us mitigate some of our costs associated with that stormwater fee. We had a lot of support from our clergy and our parish as we went through that effort, so it was very exciting. And we were so grateful to have had that opportunity to partner with Howard EcoWorks and Interfaith Partners for the Chesapeake and others along the way. So really grateful for that. So caring for the environment, as you can tell, was already a central theme on our campus, both for our congregation and our parish day school. Right now, our committee's main focus, the Green Team's main focus, is to the upkeep of these 5 rain gardens. You can see a few of our team members there working hard. We use this and this picture in particular in one of our church newsletters. And the catch line was, do you need a little bit more kneeling in your life, like prayer in your life? And here are our weed warriors, and we call them lay weeders sometimes, as a play on words for lay readers that we have in our church. And they have a lot of fun. These are a few of our really loyal team members here. The feedback I've received from our volunteers is they see this as a very prayerful time. Sometimes they'll be just working either alone in our gardens or with 1, 2, or 3 people, at times spread around our campus. And they've been thanking us. While we've been thanking them, they've been thanking us to have that time of peace, that chance to reconnect with nature, and especially in the context of the pandemic, to be able to gather safely outdoors and in nature again, especially in the context of some of these challenging times. It's been a wonderful, wonderful silver lining for our church to be able to gather in this way. In terms of my faith, I have a long history where my faith has been very closely tied to the environment, so much so that I've spent basically my entire career committed to teaching environmental science. And I tell my students, I feel like I was born to be here with them to share my love for the environment. And I can look at all of you this evening and say the same thing. I just sincerely feel that my life has led up to this moment where I can share how much I truly love this work with my congregation. I think it just comes down to the fact that I feel a deep sense of gratitude for the beautiful creation all around us, and that I cannot help but feel called to care for that creation and God's creation, and also feeling called to help others do the same. So that leads me to my final points. I'm just simply thrilled to work alongside other congregations in their efforts to also be stewards of the environment. I feel like our congregation has learned many lessons along the way over the years in the various projects we've implemented. And if those lessons that we've learned at St. John's can help others in their efforts, we would just be tickled to be part of that. So thank you all so much. And again, I'm happy to be here tonight and answer any questions along the way, certainly.
Thanks so much, Nancy. That was incredible. It's so great to hear how active your team has been, and it really you get the sense that you have a real idea of purpose. And I think we can all here agree, just the shared sense of gratitude that we all share for creation, and just feeling that call to save the environment and work with other green teams is really inspiring. So thank you for sharing. All right, so that is all of the information that we have for all of you. Before we get to any questions, I want to bring everyone's attention to a link that I just now posted in the chat. This is a link to an interest form for anyone who is interested in becoming a Green Team mentor. We're going to be spending the next several weeks recruiting a new class of mentors. So if this is something that you're interested in, please fill out the form. All right, now let's open up the floor for any questions that people have. Feel free to either unmute yourself and share with the group, or put any question or comment that you have in the chat. And Anna, we can probably go ahead and stop sharing screen so we can all see each other here.
Yeah, thanks, Peter. So any questions? Feel free to just unmute yourself and jump in.
Hi. I attended the Green Team Leaders Training in October, and I believe at least one or two other people from my congregation, but that's as far as I've gotten, you know, with the Green Team. Right now, our congregation is in the middle of calling a new pastor. And so people's interest, I guess, or focus is more on that than, you know, starting a green team. So I guess my question is, basically, how do I get started if I want to create a green team in my congregation?
Yeah, so that's a good question, and it's actually not unusual, especially if you're in your first 3 months. This is the reason why actually we've started this kind of a program. You know, folks usually start off wondering, you know, what will the first project be? And it doesn't always have to be a large project. It can just be kind of like a small educational event. You know, people love to go outdoors. So you could consider either just having a nature walk or doing a walk of the grounds. There's several trails that we have, you know, throughout the state.
Mm-hmm.
And we've actually, here at IPC, we actually have a guide, a nature walk guide that you can use that includes reflections and passages that you can use as you do the nature walk. So that's
Okay.
kind of, yeah, that's kind of like a low lift. Think small first and then do the big later, especially if you're in the middle of a, you know, a change in your pastors. You kind of, you know that probably no major projects will be
Right.
green lighted yet, but you can still do the education. You can even do, I think Nancy or Susan, somebody mentioned doing things in the newsletter. So depending on your faith tradition, right now is a great time for folks during the season of Lent. And just kind of have a, we actually just have, we also have a Lenten calendar. Which
Yes, I saw that.
yeah. So you could share the Lenten calendar, or you could just share one thing every day through social media and say this comes to you from the Green Team.
Okay.
You know? Yeah, so lots of different ideas. And if you feel like you need to bring, the staff is always available.
Okay. Great
And
ideas. Thank you.
Stephanie,
Yes.
would you remind me what your congregation is?
I'm Holy Trinity Lutheran Church in Laurel, which is in Prince George's County.
Yeah, terrific. So I can actually tell you your green team, I guess, whatever its makeup is currently paired with a mentor.
Okay.
I've been in contact with Justina Sturgeon, I believe, from
Yeah, she's our vicar.
your congregation. Yeah, so I would encourage you to reach out to her and discuss plans moving forward, because there is a designated person out there who I know would be really thrilled to help you get off the ground.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Good question. Anybody else? Other questions? Feel free to unmute yourself.
Hey, Anna, are you asking for any questions or questions about the mentor program, or what kind of questions are you looking for?
It could be questions about the mentor program. It could be questions about anything else that your team needs right now.
Okay, yeah, I, like Stephanie, was in the October training with my co-lead, and we've had a couple of meetings, and we've talked to all of the pastoral staff individually. But one thing that we have not really moved forward on is getting a committee together. And so I would be curious to hear from some of the other mentors on the call, or those with experience, or you or anybody, Anna, about different ways to go about that. We don't have a newsletter, a regular newsletter. We have a cyber beacon that comes out every week, but it's kind of yeah, so that's the newsletter that I guess that we have in our church. And yeah, so and then my second question, I guess, is, we think that we want to do something around Earth Day, and so we want to get started on something about that, but we're both busy, and so of course we need this committee. So I feel frustrated with myself, for not moving further along. I do have the names of our master gardeners. I did get that from the pastoral staff. But beyond kind of reaching out to them first, do you have any ideas on how to put a committee together? And the other thing that I would say is that a lot of our members are not coming into church in person, including me and the co-lead. We're online sometimes, and so we're not there every Sunday either. Thanks.
So before I open it up to others, I could answer your first question about building the committee. When we did the training, we talked a little bit about doing one-on-one meetings with people. And then once you've completed a one-on-one meeting with them, ask them, do you know anyone else who would be interested? And, that's one way that you could just get started. If you know the master gardener, I wouldn't be surprised if they wouldn't give you another recommendation of somebody else that you could then talk to. And, it's just slowly but surely, once you get to a team of, let's say, 5 people or so, that's kind of like a good core group that can, continue inviting others. And then also, initiate projects or programs in a way that nobody gets burnt out because they're doing everything and they're too busy. So that's my one suggestion. And then I think everybody's thinking about Earth Month next month. So I'll open up the floor for folks to just share. What are your plans for Earth Day or Earth Month? Thanks. Roseanne, go ahead. You're on mute. We can't hear you for some reason.
Yeah, it doesn't look like you're on mute, Ruth Ann, but for some reason we can't hear you.
Your volume, yeah, maybe turn up your volume.
No, we still can't hear you, unfortunately.
Maybe type in the chat.
Yeah, maybe just type in the chat. While Ruth Ann's figuring it out, does anyone else want to share?
I will. Let me get my video. Hi.
Hi.
I'm Diantha Hodges from Middle Tennessee with the UCC congregation. I signed up for it, but did not take the course, the training, because we already had been in existence from some time. We made plans for the year. We developed our vision and mission and listed everything and started communicating, but now we're getting kind of stymied in something. So Yeah. So I guess I have two questions. Would it be possible to have a mentor, and then I can ask put my issue out there?
Okay, Peter, do you want to respond to that? Yeah, go ahead, Peter.
Yeah, sure. So right now our pool of mentors is fairly small, as we're just starting the program out. So at the moment, we're really just trying to focus on teams that have just completed the Faithful Green Leader training, just because those teams are often newer to the whole process. They're maybe just finding their feet. But as the program develops more in the future and we begin to recruit more and more mentors, there will come a time when I'm sure we will be able to sort of address maybe a backlog of congregations that are all hoping to receive a mentor. And when that time comes, certainly your congregation would be on the list that could receive help. I would also add that IPC staff, as always, are available for help. So even if you don't have a mentor, you can still absolutely feel free to reach out to any one of the IPC staff, but especially whoever is your regional coordinator. I'm sure would be happy to help you.
Yeah, and just to expand on what Peter said, so IPC has regional coordinators in each region. I'm not sure, did you say you're from Tennessee?
Yes.
So we're mainly concentrated in Maryland, the DC metro region, but that doesn't preclude you from either having a conversation with our outreach manager. I think Nancy's already had mentioned Bonnie Sorak. And she has a wealth of information and she could help you. So I'll go ahead and email you. I'll do an email introduction to you and Bonnie, and we'll see if we can help out your team.
Okay, I'm on your mailing list. I got invited. Okay.
Yeah, but
You want me to throw out?
do a one-on-one. Yeah, she could do a one-on-one with you, like just maybe schedule a short conversation and brainstorm solutions.
Yeah.
Sound good?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You want me to say, you have someone else asking a question, or I could say
Yeah,
what?
let's just so Stephanie had the question about what are people planning for Earth Day, and I see Ruth Ann is back, so let's see. Oh, we can't. It might be your settings, Ruth Ann, on your computer, like maybe turn up your volume.
A minute ago, Ruth Ann, the mute and unmute button was on yours. And so I thought it was going to work, but now I don't see it again.
Yes. I'm a member of Mount Lebanon Baptist Church. And we have two dynamic leaders. It was essentially easy for our two leaders to build on their team in the beginning. We have essentially, I would say, off the top of my head, 10 to 12 committed people. When everyone can't show up for activity, whether it's mulching or thinning out the native garden, or it's time to drain the water from the cistern, you go with who's available, or we break out into teams and rotate, like might be two people twice a month to have an activity to go down to church to perform. But for, I believe, since next month is Earth Day, we have some things set up, such as on April the 9th, we planning on having a tree giveaway, mulch, and there will be vendors out on site providing resources and information. And Mount Lebanon have created a brochure, a little index card that at various community activities, we give out telling them what the Green Team does. It encourages people to use plastic, to recycle, and we always tell them that we're always looking for available people. So we have on there the phone number or the email of the green team and say, please feel free to contact us and you're welcome to join. Thank you.
Thanks. Yeah, those are great ideas. Do a tree giveaway. Some of your local jurisdictions will help you with that. Definitely, I know that many cities and counties, if you wanted to do something like a cleanup, a stream cleanup, that's also kind of a fun event. Young people love to do that kind of activity as well. So if you're trying to get your youth involved, and typically your city or your county will provide you everything that you need, like the bags and the gloves and everything that you need to pick them up. I point you to our menus for action. Many of them have like a accompanying resource list, and it will point you to, you know, all the different resources in your region. So
I see that Ruth Ann typed what she was going to say in the chat. I'll just read it out loud. She says, I liked when IPC offered a film. We all watched as we were able, and then jumped on a Zoom discussion. That's a great way to educate and recruit Green Team committee members. Yeah, that's a great point, Ruth Ann. Oh, there's another one. We also recruited from the community, from a local college, and from the direct descendants of our cemetery to expand our work party crews. Building relationships has been great.
that's great.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for sharing. Ruth Ann.
Yeah, that actually reminds me, one of the things that we're testing out this year is we have these learning labs. And so last year we actually had a big film event. We're not doing that this year, but we do still have our learning labs on various different topics. And I think every other month, we're showcasing one of the recordings from our learning labs, and you can get the team together, watch the learning lab recording, and then have a discussion after that. We also have a film list on our resources page that you can use, and we'll try and include all of these links in the follow-up email to this learning lab.
And Jennifer, I would add actually that your congregation, Bethany UMC, is currently paired with a mentor. You're paired with Mike Koob, who's from Middletown United Methodist Church. Mike is an encyclopedia of all things Green Team related. So he would definitely be happy to help you at whatever stage you're at. So I would highly encourage you to reach out to him.
Great, thanks. Yeah, I just saw that email pairing us about half an hour ago. Thank you.
Great, terrific.
Great.
It's me again, and by the way, Beth Ann Synagogue was in partnership with Mount Lebanon Baptist Church as well, and I noticed they had a mentor listed there.
Yeah,
That's right. Yeah, Stu Steinman from Beth Am is one of our inaugural mentors. Yeah, we're so happy to have him. I saw that Nancy, you were thinking of saying something.
Yes, I was just going to add to what Anna had said. You just reminded me, Anna, that Green Team, I'm all about not reinventing the wheel, right? So if there are events out there in the community, just like Anna's saying, either through IPC or outside, that's definitely a way for some of your potential Green Team members to come out of the woodwork and show themselves to you. Jennifer, I think you mentioned you're not all in person yet. And I know a lot of congregations are in that same situation. We are as well. We're slowly having more and more folks coming back and adding more of our services back. But when we were in person, this is so funny, tried and true, it may be going back to my Girl Scout leader days, but I always say I never underestimate the power of the good old fashioned clipboard. When we were fully in person, and we did have a time when they asked for announcements during our church service, they sometimes would allow me to pop up in front of everybody and say, please join us. We're we're going to be here on the church campus on Saturday, and I'll be at the door on your way out. Come see me. And typically I would get, that's how we got the bulk of our green team members, was that in that fashion. Since the pandemic, of course, we're all struggling with being able to connect as well. And the clipboard isn't as effective when some are virtual and some are in person, but inviting, we've had a good number of our green team members have come to us by just what Anna said, by one inviting the other. Even outside of our congregation, we've had people from other churches and just not even affiliated with the church in the area or a congregation in the area coming and working on our rain gardens with us. So, you know, it's one of those, everybody bring a friend, and that's been very effective as well. And people, I think these days really want to be connected and be outside. And so that's been really helpful and a win-win. It's been helpful on multiple levels. So in case that helps.
Yeah, no, that was fabulous. All these great examples. Anybody else? Any other questions that you might have before we wrap up? We have a few minutes left. So one of the questions that I often hear is for the green teams that want to launch into a project are often wondering about funding. You know, where do we get funding? And so one of the things that we do have is a learning lab on that specific topic. Many of our partner congregations and the green teams get their funding through the Chesapeake Bay Trust, that actually is one of the supporters of this work, the green team training. And so you can, you know, again, go to our resources page, and we have one of the sections in there just lists all kinds of funding resources, mainly related to Chesapeake Bay Trust. And I will just share that in the chat right now. There's a video there that kind of walks you through. There's two different kinds of funding. There's the mini grants, which I know Mount Lebanon may have received a mini grant. And then they also, those open up in July, typically. That's when their next round is going to be opening up. IPC staff are available to help walk you through the application process. If you're thinking of a larger project, they have the outreach and restoration grants that also open up sometime in July, and then those are usually due towards the end of August. So I'd encourage you to take a look at those resources as well if you're thinking of a larger project. So the example from Christ the Servant Lutheran Church was it was funded through a Chesapeake Bay Trust grant. They're permeable pavers.
I thought of another question, and it was part of the email invitation to this webinar. It's talking about April 7th and a watch party. And what is that about? Can you give me some more information about that?
Yeah, so what we're trying to, we're experimenting with this year is we do these live learning labs like this one, 1 month, and then on the alternating month, we'll encourage people to have a watch party on one of the previous learning lab recordings. So you could, you know, if you have a team of 3 people, say we're hosting a watch party on, you know, on this topic, come one, come all. It's a, you know, like Nancy was saying, it's a chance to invite others to come and watch the recording with you. And then right after that, you can schedule a discussion session, and you'll see on that watch party page, we've listed the discussion questions for you.
Okay.
Yeah. So you would be like you, Stephanie, would be the watch party host. And then
Okay.
you'll send the link to everybody and they can watch the video and then come back together, either in person or, through Zoom or whatever is most convenient, and then just talk about the video, what you learned, any questions.
Mhm.
And that can get people going and get people enthusiastic about the green team
Okay.
and creation care work.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Margaret, while we have you here, I just thought I would mention your congregation, Chevy Chase Presbyterian, is also currently paired with a mentor. Your mentor is Joanne Eastlack, who we talked about earlier in the training. She is from Christ the Servant Lutheran. She's the one who recently installed that permeable paver project in their parking lot. Joanne is a superstar. She knows everything there is to know about green teams, and she's really a mover and a shaker. So I would highly encourage you to reach out to her and find a time to meet, because I know that she could be a lot of help. All right, any last questions here? We're approaching the end of the hour.
Okay, well, thanks for joining us again. We continue to be inspired with everything that the green team's doing, all the effort that you've done, even just participating in the trainings. And we're really truly inspired by your commitment to creation care work. And we hope that you'll continue, and we're always here to help you. So I will end by saying Godspeed in everything that you do, and we'll be in touch.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thanks, everyone. Take care.
Good night.
Bye.
Good night.
Thank you all. Good night.